This is hour one of Jon and Jim. We are back after a one-day hiatus, and we have a really good show for you as we get you ready for the Padres back home on this sunny Thursday in San Diego. Josh Mauer is a Brewers radio announcer. He's been on the show before. He will join us coming up in 10 minutes. We have the director of the Swish League, which kicks off this weekend, Summer League in San Diego. He will join us at 4:30. And then we have Alan Slewa on this JJ Redick news. He will join us at 5 p.m. We have giveaways we'll tell you about over the course of the show as well. What do you got, Brent?
Has anyone told you yet you look like a UPS driver?
No, that has not yet happened, but I am wearing a lot of brown today.
Do you see it, Jim? Can you see it, Jim?
I do now.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm wearing brown.
I do now.
A lot of brown.
A lot of brown. Brown hat.
Brown polo, brown hat.
What can John Schaefer do for you?
All right, we'll be back tomorrow at 3.
Have a good one, everybody.
I'm wearing brown. That is factual. Josh Mauer will join us at 3:15. Here's your talkback question if you want to get involved, Padres fans. Are you half full on where they stand, a half game out of the postseason, or half empty? Like from a glass half full, glass half empty perspective, half full or half empty on the Padres? 38-40, 1-5 trib, half game out of a postseason spot. How do you see it? Open the iHeartRadio app, search for San Diego Sports 760, tap the talkback mic. We'll play your 30-second responses later this hour. It feels like we talk a lot about not just the wins and losses, which we do, but also about, we spent a lot of time on Mike Schilt earlier this week. We spent a lot of time on Manny Machado, who kind of lashed out on himself to the media following Tuesday's loss. Now, they do win a game Wednesday, Jim. The story is the story. They're 38-40. I mean, that's the real story. But within that story is a lot of Manny Machado over the last 24 or 36 hours. There was a lot of Mike Schilt earlier in the week, and now it feels like all the attention of the world over the last 24, 36 hours has been on Manny Machado quotes to the media and stories written about him over the last 2 days.
So wait, are you surprised by it or not?
No, well, I'm surprised by timing of it, or him talking about it, or articles being written on it.
Kind of everything, like the timing of it, what the articles are about, and him speaking about his elbow and struggles.
No, are you? I'm going to talk through it. I'm not surprised. I thought Tuesday night when they lost to make it 5 straight, he was in this like very brutally honest moment where he was like, I can't get right. I'm going to figure this out if it's the last thing I do. Essentially, when he said, I'll blow out my elbow. I'm going to figure this out. I have no idea why I'm missing center cut fastballs right now. And I've hit just 6 home runs. And I'm hitting 240 and I'm having the worst season of my career. I just felt like that was a lash out moment. And then from there, we've heard Mike Schilt like come to the defense of his. The hustle conversation is in there too. But I'm not surprised that, listen, heavy is the head that wears the crown. So they lose 5 straight. He's hitting 240. He lashes out. It becomes a Manny Machado story, right?
Again, not surprising when you take everything into account here with what the team is doing right now on the field, which is they're not playing well.
Mm-hmm.
With what Machado's doing on the field, which is he's not playing well. With his injury that he had last year and the major surgery that he got, okay? If you want to correlate those two, which I think you can, obviously he is, and it makes a lot of sense. And then the whole thing last Friday night in New York, and then the just out of nowhere praise from the manager for Manny Machado on Monday night.
Calling out his hustle.
In
a 9-2 loss.
Yes, because frankly, do you think that we would be getting these types of stories if you didn't have that just random out of the blue comment from Mike Schilt on Monday night?
The reason I would say yes is because of what Manny said about himself on Tuesday and what he has told both the national media, MLB.com, and then what was in Kevin's newsletter today, which was he's bringing attention to it by saying, how come you're not singling out you, whatever? How come the media doesn't single out other players that don't hustle? Yeah, maybe there's times I don't hustle. I'm completely paraphrasing. But there's other guys. I play third. When I throw to first, I see guys halfway down the line that should be 3/4 of the way down the line. How come that doesn't get called out? I feel like he's kind of furthering the story by continuing to speak on it.
See, I look at it from if Mike Schilt didn't just randomly out of the blue start talking about Manny Machado's random hustle play on Monday night,
then it would have died.
I think it would have died
after the Friday non-hustle in New York.
Yes.
I agree with that.
So
I agree with that.
If you want to get really kind of mad at anybody here, Manny, for highlighting this, maybe you should look at your manager.
Okay.
Because if your manager doesn't say anything, I don't think Dennis Lynn, maybe he does. I don't know. But now with him saying it, it's in Dennis's mind and it creates a question, and then it creates a story, and then it creates another story, and then it creates we need to go talk to Manny about this. Like, because if you listen back on Monday night, you hear Dennis after I think a couple other questions ask about,
hey,
is
this the expectation for every game?
So is this the expectation you have for Manny for every game?
To hustle.
And I know that there's other things that happened, like yesterday they had a great win and whatever, but still a 1-5 road trip is a 1-5 road trip, and you're still on a stretch here where you're going to play some really good teams. But the story continues to be Manny, because he is still talking about things that are happening this season with his elbow and his hustle and the expectations and everything. But I truly, like, thinking through it and talking through it now, I don't know if we are sitting here today talking about this stuff and talking about Manny, really, if Mike Schilt doesn't just randomly bring up a hustle play that he had on Monday night.
Yes, and maybe that's why Manny felt it was necessary Tuesday to come to his own defense, because Tuesday he couldn't have been more raw. They lose.
Yeah, it was not a great. It was a bad loss.
He's at his locker, right, in the clubhouse, and he went off on himself, essentially curse-ridden, expletives,
which I totally get, by the way.
And honestly, and I said Tuesday night on the wrap-up show, I respected the brutal honesty. It doesn't make up for his poor play, but I respect him essentially calling himself out. And I also respect him saying that if it's the last thing I do, I'm going to get this darn thing right. Like, I will truly re-injure my elbow to get myself back healthy. He didn't mean that. He didn't mean that.
Hope not.
What he's saying is, like, because a lot of people, there's this characterization of athletes. We've all done it. I've done it, where I'll reference, nice break, the sneeze. I'll say, he got $350 million. He's struggling. That's not fair. I've done it. I don't think it's fair to say, well, this player got paid, therefore he doesn't care.
A lot of factors.
Like, you read this quote from Manny the other night. Do you have it?
You can read it.
I mean, I got to do it. I got to play. I'm effing frustrated. I'm effing pissed. I can't get there. I do think I found it. I think we made a couple of adjustments that got me in the right direction, but just can't get there. I got to get there. It's effing frustrating. I know it's going to be there. I'm just too effing good. I have to figure it out. I will figure it out. Even if I blow my effing elbow out again, I will figure it out. That, to me, is not a guy that doesn't care, Jim. Now, it doesn't make up for his lack of success, but this, to me, is a brutal, honest Manny Machado in a moment after a loss, their fifth straight, in the midst of the worst year of his career, being completely lost for how he got here and the extent of this injury and how it's impacting him.
And when you hear a professional athlete of Manny's stature say those things, dude, that is the most frustrating thing in the world, probably, if ever, if you're a professional athlete, where you lose it. And I'm not saying Manny just lost it because he's old or going downhill. It's because of this elbow. And it's easy to blame the elbow because it just happened and you had the major surgery, and you have said as recently as maybe a month and a half ago that doctors said you probably won't be fully healthy and 100% until another year from now. So, like, that is a frustrating thing probably as a professional athlete when you just lose it. Like, you're like, I've done this a million times. Like, I'm sure Rory, after his putts at the US Open, was like, I have literally made this putt 1,000 times in a row, and then I missed this one. I've done it so many times. What the hell just happened? And that's kind of where Manny's going through right now. It's like, I've done this so many times. I'm seeing it well. The ball is right where I want it. And every time that I think I'm going to, make some really good contact, it's a pop up to the shortstop, or it's I miss it, or foul it away, or I'm just not getting to the pitch that I've normally got to throughout my entire career. And that's very frustrating, probably from a professional athlete standpoint. Now, I look at it on this side as well. I get the struggles. I understand it. And yeah, it is frustrating as hell. But from a franchise view, this is like DEFCON 1. This is not good. If you, in year 2 of this 10-year extension, in the prime, quotes, prime of his career,
Mm-hmm.
in the year that you need to win more than any year, it feels like. And he's doing this for you. Like, it just could not be worse timing to have this all kind of happen at once.
See, and I agree with that, but there were real indicators here, even for Manny himself, maybe in spring training or early in the season, when he just unabashedly told the media, by the way, the doctors have told me I won't be right until 2025.
And we
were all like, oh my
huh?
gosh,
Rabbit
we
ears.
weren't aware of that. But maybe that's just playing out in front of our eyes in real time. Jim, we are 3 games away from the halfway point. He's hit 6 home runs and has an OPS under 700.
Yeah, it's not great.
So listen, if he does turn it around, how much can it even be turned? He's not hitting 30 home runs this year. He's not going to have a 900 OPS. We'll get back to the conversation on Machado at 3:30. Let's welcome back to the show radio announcer for the Milwaukee Brewers, Josh Mowers. The Padres and Brewers get set for a 4-game series here at Petco Park. Josh, as always, appreciate you hopping on. Jon and Jim, San Diego Sports 760. So I feel like every year we look up and here are the Brewers, in a very good spot to make the postseason. They've got one of the largest leads in baseball. They're 44-30. They've been good at home. They've been good on the road. How have they been able to finagle this through the first 3 months of the season to first place in the NL Central?
I think a lot of the fans around Milwaukee have been asking that question themselves. First of all, it's great. Always good to be with you, John. You look at the offseason, the manager leaves, your best pitcher gets traded. There are injuries to the bullpen. Devin Williams, one of the best closers in baseball, is out with a stress fracture in his back. He hasn't pitched this year. It really looked like a team that was destined to at least take a small step back, or at worst, take a big step back. And then, lo and behold, with a new manager who had been their bench coach for the previous 8 years, and with a patched together starting rotation that doesn't have a track record like most of the other contending teams in baseball, here they are. They've got a better record 2.5 months into this season than they did last year when they won the division and won over 90 games. So go figure. I think the biggest reason that you could point to, it's a culture of winning that has become pervasive over the last 7-8 years in Milwaukee, and doing things the right way, making smart decisions with the roster, and putting together and win in different ways, which this team certainly can. They can beat you with offense, maybe even more so than in recent years. Their defense is exceptional. The last week, they've won 2 games alone with an amazing defensive play for the final out of the ball game. And their starting pitching, I mentioned that it's not a bunch of big names, but they've been able to hold it together with whoever they've had to put out there to start the games. Long-winded answer, I know, but I think it's a very valid question that even people around here are asking themselves. And I'm trying to answer it as best I can just by saying, go figure with these Brewers.
And with Greg Counsell, leaving to the Cubs, and old friend here in San Diego, Pat Murphy, taking over for you, how much credit do you give Pat Murphy for kind of like, steadying the ship here and getting the Brewers to the first half of the year to where they are right now?
A ton of credit. And the other thing is, we assumed that things would be pretty much the same as had been for the previous 9 years with Craig Counsell, because of the relationship that he and Murph had. Craig played for Murph when Pat was the head coach at Notre Dame, and he was his bench coach, as I mentioned, for 8 seasons in Milwaukee. So he figured it was going to be the same operation, but there have been differences. And I think in a good way. He has shown himself, Pat Murphy has, to, I think, be more open-minded to changing things up, doing things not exactly according to the world of analytics at every single time. Sometimes he'll listen to his heart. Sometimes he'll listen to his head. Sometimes he'll be able to be talked into making a change by the players. I think for a guy who you would assume is just kind of an old school baseball guy that would be pretty rigid, he's had a very open mind about doing things in a new age way, combining the analytics with the touch of a guy who's been around baseball for 40 years. So I think Murph has done an outstanding job. He should be in the short conversation for manager of the year in the National League.
Yeah, I mean, they've been really as among the better teams in the National League this year, almost destined potentially. There's still a long way to go, but maybe that 3 seed in the National League postseason with a large lead right now in the Central. So Padres Brewers tonight. Josh Mauer calls games for the Brewers. He's with us right now on Jon and Jim. What has gotten into the resurgence here for Christian Yelich? There were years where the power was down. I know he's not hitting for power the traditional sense of the home runs, but he's had a lot of extra base hits. His OPS is over 900. He's one of the best hitters for average in baseball right now. What has led to this year for Christian Yelich?
I think the biggest thing for him is comfort, feeling healthy. Now, he did miss a month because his back flared up on him very early in the season. He hit a bunch of home runs in the first 2 weeks, and that's when people really started raising their eyebrows and saying, whoa, maybe this is the 2018, 2019 version of Christian Yelich. Ever since he came back, which was in the kind of the middle of May, he has not hit a lot of power. In fact, he's only got 2 home runs since he came back off the injured list, and that's in over a month's worth of time. But John, as you said, his batting average has been well over 300 all year. Strikeouts are way down, and he just looks kind of like the athlete that we had seen before he got the big contract extension and won an MVP award. He runs like a gazelle. Watching Christian Yelich go first to third on a base hit, it's one of the more pretty things you can see on a baseball field. And with his back feeling good now, and the health, knock on wood, having been there now for the last about month and a half, he looks like an all-star player. And by the way, he's probably going to be voted into the all-star game as a starter. So that's how good of a season that he's had so far. And that's rare for a Brewers player to get voted in as a starter, but they may have a couple of them this year.
We have a bunch of Jacksons as far as rookies this year. Jackson Merrill here in San Diego, Jackson Trio in Milwaukee. Kind of dipped off a little bit here. How would you explain his season so far?
It's a good comparison because they're so young, both of the Jacksons. I've been so impressed with Jackson Merrill. When we saw him in the series in Milwaukee back in April, I was blown away by how mature he looked for his age and for his relative lack of experience. I think for Chourio, the biggest thing to keep in mind is that he had hardly ever even played at AAA. This is a guy who played almost the full season last year at the AA level when he was 19 years old. And they decided that this was going to be a learn-on-the-job type of experiment this year. And that's what it's been. There have been ups and downs. But recently, over the last couple of weeks, he's hitting almost 300, and some power has returned. He's one of the faster guys in baseball. He scored on a double E9 in Anaheim the other night on a ground ball that was misplayed by Joe Adell in right field. But he had the fastest home plate to home plate in baseball clocked all season on that play. So he can really scoot. He's still kind of a work in progress in the outfield. But again, we have to keep reminding ourselves that this guy's 20 years old. And to do anything at a high level in Major League Baseball against the best in the world when you're supposed to be just a junior in college, I think you have to keep that in the perspective that it deserves. So if at the end of the year, Jackson ends up hitting 230, 240, maybe he gets to 15 to 20 home runs, I think that would be considered a pretty successful first season for a guy who the Brewers are counting on to be a cornerstone of their franchise for the next decade.
So what's interesting, Josh, is I feel like there's some similarities between the back end of the Brewers bullpen and the back of the Padres bullpen. Padres back end's been very good. Estrada, Suarez, among the best in baseball. It looks like the Brewers, with their, like you said, the starting pitching isn't heralded, but they take a lead with them into the middle innings, and it looks like they're preserving them even without Devin Williams. Has that been a part of the formula? Hey, have a lead in the sixth inning and just hold it, because it looks like they've been pretty good at that.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's been the formula for this run of success since 2017. The Brewers have always had a really good bullpen. If you get them a lead, as you said, if you get them a lead in the sixth or especially the seventh inning, they're going to win the game more often than not. And that's not always the case in Major League Baseball these days. Conversation, an organizational philosophy, the way that they've been able to put together a roster year in and year out, under Mark Adonasio, who's the team owner, and whoever the general manager's been. Now it's Matt Arnold, who took over for David Stearns. I do think that the way that they've identified bullpen arms and been able to make guys successful identifying what their best strengths are. So if they've got two pitches that are going to work, those are the two pitches they're going to rely on, and they're going to work on. They're going to work on most batters in the major leagues. It's not a bunch of big names. It really isn't. In fact, Trevor McGill, who's been closing this season, had never had a major league season coming into the year, and now he's got 15 of them going in for Devin Williams in the ninth inning. So they take these guys who have some strengths that maybe other teams haven't been able to hone in on the way that the Brewers identify those things, and it works. It's a really fascinating organizational philosophy, I think, especially when it comes to developing and utilizing pitching.
It's a big series here this weekend. Feels maybe even bigger for the Padres, who are floundering a bit, a couple of games under 500. The Brewers are here for 4. Josh, always appreciate it, man. Hope we can do it again soon. Thank you for hopping on as always, and look forward to connecting again soon, all right?
Always, guys. Thank you so much for having me.
All right. Josh Maurer, Brewers Radio. On the other side.
It's crazy how listening to him talk about the Brewers organization and just exuding how it's a winning organization and they do the right things and this and that.
Sounds like the Padres, right?
And they go through kind of the same thing, even maybe more traumatic, losing their manager to a division rival, yet they're totally fine.
They're blowing the doors off everyone right now at
And
44 and 30.
Totally fine. And the Padres are the complete opposite of that.
All right. So back to this question on the other side that we asked earlier. You can call us 877-767-4760 or hit us up on the talkback mic. Are you a glass half full or glass half empty guy when it comes to the Padres right now at 38 and 40? We'll get to that on the other side of Jon and Jim. All right, are you glass half full or glass half empty right now on these Padres? 38-40 overall, just a half game out of a playoff spot, but 1-5 on the road. You can hit us up, 877-767-4760, or on the talkback mic. That's next.
All right, this update is brought to you by Taco Bell. Padres start a 4-game series tonight with the Brewers. 6:40 first pitch. Padres are coming off an awful 1-5 road trip. They're now 2 games under 500. Adam Major starting tonight for the Padres. In the NBA, shocking news, John. The Lakers, they have found their new head coach. Can you guess who it is?
Dan Hurley. Bobby Hurley.
Wrong. The podcaster, JJ Redick.
Monty Williams.
Not Monty Williams. It's the podcaster, JJ Redick, and LeBron's new favorite friend. He will be the next head coach of the Lakers. 4-year deal with the team to be their head coach. The Cravings Value Menu from Taco Bell, 10 items each for just $3 or less, including faves like the cheesy double beef burrito, loaded beef nachos, and the 3-cheese chicken flatbread melt at participating U.S. stores while supplies last. Prices do vary. Taxes extra. Double seasoned beef compared to the Burrito Supreme.
When it comes to these Padres, open the iHeart app, search for San Diego Sports 760, tap the talkback mic. We'll play your responses later this hour. We both saw this. I'm glad you mentioned it again, though, to me. Dennis Lynn today in The Athletic. Preller almost certainly would require special authorization to trade either of his top 2 prospects. That's not shocking. We've theorized on that. We're talking about Salas or DeVries. But he goes on to write, both teenagers are deemed close to untouchable, but talent evaluators do not see an easy path for the Padres to significantly improve their roster without surrendering at least one. So, yeah, that's not a surprise that they're not going to trade Salas or DeVries. But can they make the quote-unquote blockbuster, whatever that even means right now, Jim, on June 20th without giving up one of those 2 players? Can they actually improve their roster, wins and losses-wise, without giving up one of those 2 players?
This line right here from Dennis. Of course, it remains to be seen how much leash Preller has left. I think you kind of look at that as like a couple ways here, right? Are you talking about leash with trading away a bunch of prospects? Or is that leash
No, I think that's
talking
like
about
leash.
like, hey, if this thing does not improve, and by the way, we're not letting you trade away all these top prospects anymore. You need to figure out how to fix this. And if it doesn't get fixed, then
someone else will fix it.
Someone else will fix it.
But this always goes to our point we've made over the last 12 months, which is, do you let a lame duck general manager, which he may or may not be, do you let him make sizable change? Last July, they made very minor moves on the margins, as we would say, right? They were not significant. They didn't sell off. They didn't add. Their additions were, lacked any meaning.
They did nothing.
They did nothing. So what happens this time around, Jim, if they're actually kind of quasi better positioned? A year ago, they were 3 under 500, a few games out of the wild card. What if they're even for a wild card spot? Is he given the opportunity to truly enhance the team, or do you just kind of see it out? Because why would you always have to ask yourself this question if you're an organization, why would you let someone that's lame duck make a sizable move that's going to have future ramifications on your team in 2025 and beyond?
This paragraph from Dennis is so interesting because it details that Preller likely had to go through additional length to convince ownership to sign off on the trades for Cease and Rise this year, although neither move added much payroll, which is something that they don't really want to do. But Preller almost certainly would require special authorization to trade either one of the top organization's prospects, catcher Ethan Salas and shortstop Leo DeVries. Both teenagers are deemed close to untouchable, but talent evaluators do not see any easy path for the Padres to significantly improve without surrendering at least one. And he also mentions, that the job status of Preller is no longer considered as secure as it was under Peter Seidler. So to me, it's like he's in between a rock and a hard place. He's got to fix this team. He's got to make sure that with all the injuries and everything and how just average they are, do something to spark this team and make it so they're not a just 500 team here. But also, you can't really trade away any top prospects to do that.
Well, that's the question. Is it you can't trade away any top prospects, or you could? By the way, he's not trading Salas DeVries. Let's just leave it alone. Let's just assume under that theory he wouldn't want to, nor will he be given the ability to. But can he improve his roster trading away Dylan Lesko, potentially pitching prospect, Robbie Snelling, pitching prospect, whomever else is littered in their top 10? Is that enough to go get the player that does get this team over the 500 hump? Is acquiring Garrett Crochet possible? I'm making it up. Without getting rid of a Salas or DeVries? Is getting 5 games over 500 possible with what he has in the system other than Salas and or DeVries? I don't know the answer to it.
I kind of view it as he's going to have to get kind of lucky because I don't think they're going to get the Garrett Crochet if you're not going to give up a top prospects in this organization. And with how many teams are going after Garrett Crochet,
that ups the price.
It ups the price, and the Padres have already made 2 blockbuster moves this year with Cease and Arise.
Yep.
So that one, as far as like the percentage of it happening goes, I would say it's obviously less than 50%. And I don't know if the percentage is even high enough to start penciling in Garrett Crochet here in a Padres uniform. I'm looking at it as like, you got to find the diamond in the rough type of trade. Like you did that with Jerks and Profar this year.
Sure. Signing.
Can you do that with a trade for a guy who all of a sudden comes here and in August and September, he hits 390 for you? Like let
me answer that.
I know, but I'm just saying like that kind of feels like where it's going to have to go. And I don't know who that player is, whether it's a pitcher or a position player or both or a reliever. I don't know, but I'm just saying, I don't envision a seismic blockbuster move here after reading Dennis's article.
The idea that you might be saved by the deadline, like in boxing, whatever, right? Can you be saved by the bell or no? You can or cannot?
Yeah, sometimes.
It avoids a 10 count if you've been knocked out?
Yes. Yeah, I think it depends on the match.
Okay, but whatever. My point is, I actually look at it the other way. I don't think they should be looking at it like, can they salvage it at the deadline with addition? I would say, can you get Manny Can you get Bogey? Can you get Darvish, Musgrove? Can some combination of what you got be what they're capable of? I would guess that gives you more of a chance to do it than whomever they acquire.
So both are pretty much based on hope.
A little bit, but at least the hope internally. You have more information than anyone else.
Yeah.
You know the latest on Bogarts. You know the latest on Musgrove. If Bogarts ain't coming back, if Musgrove isn't coming back, then you're probably right. They're making additions either way. There's no trade deadline that's ever going to come without a trade. But to your point, is it on the margins or is it this blockbuster type addition? I would argue probably against the blockbuster type addition. I mean, not from a content perspective, but in doing it because I've watched this stuff play out before. And in a 60-game sprint, any one addition, you're asking for a lot for that one addition to mean a lot to your win-loss total. That's how I see it.
I'm just looking at, and I don't think it's even fair to compare the Braves organization to the Padres organization because the Braves are far superior in everything they do to what AJ Preller does here. But the year the Braves won the World Series, they made a bunch of marginal moves on the
with like outfielders that hit.
Like Eddie Rosario became the NLCS MVP for them. Jorge Soler became the World Series MVP for them.
And you're right, these weren't blockbusters.
They're not blockbusters. And you're going to kind of have to get lucky from a standpoint of like whoever you trade for, if it's a marginal player, they're going to have to produce at a high level. It doesn't matter about the name, it's about the production. And if you can go out there and trade for X player, like I'll just use, what if Donovan Solano was out there? They traded for Donovan Solano and in 2 months he had 380 for them. You know what I mean? Like they're going to have to get that type of production from whoever they trade for because they're not going to be able, I feel like, to trade these top prospects for a major player because I don't think Preller is going to be allowed to do that here.
Well, maybe he comes through. And the reason I would say it is honestly, some of these moves, while they're 38 and 40, I'm not turning down Arise, Cease, Estrada, whomever else, Solano. Like he's had some savviness here. Some of it has been blockbuster. Some of it has been more waiver wire profile. I mean, there's 4 or 5 really like astute additions, trades. Hasn't resulted in wins, but it's hard to be critical of those individuals.
Which is the crazy part about it is that most of the moves he has made this year,
pretty solid.
You could say has been a positive.
Yes.
Dylan Cease has struggled of late, but I would still consider it a positive because you're going to go out there and get at least 6 innings majority of the time from him. We just got to make sure he's stopped giving up home runs. Luis Arise, Profar, Estrada, Solano, like these guys have been impactful, but it's still they're 2 games under 500.
Yeah, I wish I could explain it. I don't think he can either. All right, on the other side, we'll get your talk back. So you can open up that iHeartRadio app, search for San Diego Sports 760, tap the red talkback mic. We'll play your 30-second responses. Padres fans, what do you think? Are you glass half full with this team or glass half empty? Plus, we'll tell you about our giveaways coming up on Jon and Jim. All right. On the other side, are you half full or half empty when it comes to the Padres right now? Plus, we've got a 4-pack of tickets to the San Diego County Fair to give away. Stay with us. Basketball returning to San Diego for a 6th year. We've had him on before. Coach Koo. Full name, Jim's not going to say, is Kwaku Amwaku. I think I'm saying that right. He literally sent me it last year when we had him on.
Oh yeah, I remember
Yeah,
that.
Kwaku Amwaku.
Call him
Coach Koo, he goes
Coach.
by. So he's going to join us coming up at 4:30. Also, in the 4 o'clock hour, Jim, your chance to win tickets to the fair. I was there last night. Whoa. Insanity.
Really?
Jones had the time of his life. So, you know, we
did
live.
the mom and dad have the time of their lives?
It was just me.
Oh.
Kristen wasn't willing to risk it. We were going to go at 11 a.m. when it opened, and I looked at Google Maps.
Because of the heat?
Like, why is it taking 50 minutes to get to the Del Mar Fairgrounds?
yeah,
I live 2 miles away.
Yeah.
It was like the roads were crazy.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone had the same idea. Oh, let me go to the fair. You know, it's off. It's a federal holiday. So I'm like, we'll go later. Well, I kept looking every like 2 hours. It kept getting worse. Finally, at 6, because I told Jones we're going. I'm like, I have to go. He's gonna lose his mind if we. So I'm like, I'm going. We got there in 30. We raced through everything. We won prizes. We played games. We ate funnel cake. We went on rides. It's an unbelievable place. So we're giving away a 4-pack of tickets. Yesterday, probably not the best day to go with it being a federal holiday, but
how hyped up on sugar was Jones after that funnel cake?
Dude, this funnel cake was the size of him. You know how big they
they're
are.
massive. Yeah,
They're like a pizza.
Was it just a regular funnel cake with sugar?
There were some options. I asked him. There was cinnamon sugar. There was powdered sugar. He wanted powdered.
Probably.
There was Mexican funnel cake.
Oh wow, okay.
What's a Mexican funnel cake?
Funnel cake made in Mexico? I don't know. Does someone know that? 70470
I wonder if it's like the Mexican Coke where it uses real sugar instead of
maybe
sugar.
But if you haven't been, we have a 4-pack of tickets that we will give away. All right, we asked this on the talkback mic, Jim. Glass half full or half empty on the Padres? I kind of know where we're leaning, but where are our listeners leaning right now? Plus some commentary on Manny Machado. Ooh.
Okay, I don't know
Little
about
strong,
I don't
little
know if I'll
strong.
go that
Yeah.
far, because Manny's a guy that he could all of a sudden have 2 home runs tonight. Now I don't know how likely that is because
Because of his
of
elbow.
his elbow, and that's kind of a big reason why he's not performing right now. If his elbow was fine, John, and he was still performing
Doing
like
this.
this, then it would be even a bigger problem. I'm not saying this is not a big problem because it is.
It's a problem, but some of this has to be tied to his health.
Yeah,
It has to be.
Yeah,
So
if
that's
when Manny was performing in 2022, I don't think many people were like upset
no, they weren't
about
saying that.
him. But it is interesting how you have very poor play. You're making a ton of money. All right. You are having some weird quotes in the media about like my 60% is as good as everybody's 100%. You're like, not right now, Manny. Right now, your 60% is like worse than everybody. Okay. You're not really going out there at 60% and performing like you used to. So that kind of is an interesting, weird quote. And then when you're not performing, your team's not performing, and you're dogging it on the first base line, it's like a whole recipe for disaster for people to start really getting upset with you.
Yeah. And he keeps digging. Some of these quotes, like the recent quotes to Kevin in today's newsletter, where he's like, well, how come other guys don't run down the line and nobody calls them out? First of all, that's your excuse as a leader. How come other guys do it and get away with it, but I can't? That's not a good leadership quality, what you're saying inherently.
Yeah.
When you say that.
Manny takes ownership of certain things, but there's other certain things that he will definitely push back against. And I think this one is one of them. And I just don't understand why it is, because you made your bed, you got to sleep in it. And when you do dog it, people are going to call you out on it because you already gave them a reason to do it. And you get paid all this money, and you're not performing, and you're also hurt. There's a lot of factors in here where you don't really have much sympathy when Manny says those things about, well, other people are doing it. I don't care about other people, Manny.
Sure, I care about you.
I care about you.
Exactly. All right, let's get to the other ones about whether they're glass half full or glass half empty on the Padres.
Keep the faith. Oh, yes, Tom Cosgrove.
Missing piece.
I was hoping they would have re-signed Tim Hill today, but instead Tim Hill went
right?
to the Yankees.
Yeah. I actually thought they may.
He wanted to play with Juan Soto instead of Manny Machado.
Is that what it says? Yeah, that's what he said.
I don't know.
That's what he's going to say to the media. Why'd you choose here? I didn't want to play with Manny.
I didn't want to play with Manny.
Can you imagine that?
Just kidding.
All right. Next hour, we will give away a 4-pack of tickets to the San Diego County Fair. We will catch up with the director of the Swish League, Summer League Basketball in San Diego at 4:30. And Alan Slewa on the shocking hire of JJ Redick by the Lakers. He will join us at 5 p.m. Hour 2 of Jon and Jim is next.
All right, this update is brought to you by Taco Bell. Padres start a 4-game series with the Brewers tonight back home at Petco Park. 6:40 first pitch. Adam Major on the mound for the Padres tonight. They're 2 games under 500 after coming off an awful 1-5 road trip. In NBA news, JJ Redick, he is the new head coach of the Los Angeles Lakers. Shocker, signing a 4-year deal. Cravings value menu from Taco Bell, 10 items each for just $3 or less, including faves like the cheesy double beef burrito, loaded beef nachos, and the 3-cheese chicken flatbread melt at participating U.S. stores while supplies last. Prices do vary. Taxes extra, double seasoned beef compared to the Burrito Supreme.
Getting you all set for that drive home. Let's just start the show. Here's Jon and Jim.
All right, San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? This is hour 2 of Jon and Jim. We'll talk about the Swiss Summer League, San Diego basketball here this summer, returning this weekend with the director of that event, Kwaku Amwaku, will join us at 4:30. I think I said that right. And then at 5 p.m., Alan Sliwa on the Lakers hire of JJ Redick, the predicted hire of JJ Redick. We'll talk Padres with Alan Sliwa coming up at 5 p.m. as well. This hour, your chance to win a 4-pack of tickets as well to the San Diego County Fairs. So let's kick off hour 2, as we typically do, with this.
So JJ Redick was hired today. When he's going to get fired?
No coach has made it longer than 3 years since I think Phil. You had D'Antoni, you had Vogel, you had Darvin Ham, you had Walton.
No one's made it more than 3 years?
No one's made it more than 3 years. So I give it like
since Phil Jackson, that's correct.
I'll give it 2 years. 2 years.
Yeah, I wouldn't take the over on that. I would say max would be 2 years. I mean, I'll say 18 months. I'll say it's something like maybe in the second season, maybe he makes it through the second season. That is amazing, though, to your point. I mean, you're going all the way back to like 2010. They've had no continuity at all. I don't think it starts right now with JJ Redick. That would be very surprising to me. So, yeah, I'm on Team Jim, 2 years or less. Next question.
Should the NCAA expand the NCAA tournament?
No. Why do they keep doing this stuff?
There's a lot of talk, right?
Money.
I get the money aspect of it, but God, I mean, at some point, it's going to make this tournament, the first however many days, just literally pointless. Like, I don't really even already care about the first 4.
Mm-hmm.
I don't consider that the start of the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, I don't either.
I consider Thursday at 9 a.m., whoever it is, if it's a 7 versus an 8 seed or whatever, that's when the tournament starts for me. So when they expand this thing and they put more games on like a Tuesday and a Wednesday, that's awesome. That's great for our purposes because we'll probably be off because we carry the
right
March Madness here. But it won't matter to me because I just don't care about the final teams in the tournament when I know it's not going to mean anything at all anyway.
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I mean, I'm actually not as much of a hater of the idea as some. Like, I don't want to see the tournament go from 68 to 96 because then you're letting in teams that are like 13th in a 14-team Big Ten. But if you went from 68 to 72 or from 68 to 76 and had an additional first 4 or had like playing games for bubble teams, because they don't really do that as much right now. But if all the playing games were bubble teams, I'd be okay with it. I'm not opposed to an addition of a few teams. I am opposed to an addition of like 30 teams. That's the way I see it right now. Next question.
What is the legacy of Willie Mays to you?
Well, we were talking about this on the wrap-up show the other night. Like, what is one player you wish you could have seen play that you never saw play?
Mm-hmm.
I think Willie Mays, if from a baseball standpoint, is up there. Like Babe Ruth,
definitely.
Willie Mays. I think Jackie Robinson. There's a good amount, but if you're talking about where does Willie Mays rank for me on that list, it's pretty damn high. The legacy of Willie Mays is, it's hard to not say one of, if not the greatest baseball players to ever play the game. Certainly the greatest center fielder to ever play the game. I saw on social media the other day a side-by-side of Willie Mays' career in Ken Griffey Jr.'s career. And you would consider probably Ken Griffey Jr. in your lifetime one of the best, if not the best center fielders that you've ever seen play.
First half of his career.
First half of his career in Seattle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, of course. Dude, Willie Mays blows Ken Griffey Jr.'s numbers out of the water. Like, it's not even close. So to hear people that have seen Willie Mays play and to talk about how amazing he was, and then you look at his numbers to back up everything those people say, the legacy of Willie Mays, just not only on the field is one of the greatest ever, but like off the field with everything that he's done for the game. I mean, just an icon.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I mean, Willie Mays would be one of the players that if you never saw him play, you'd say, I wish I did, like Jackie Robinson or Babe Ruth. And there's others, Sandy Koufax. I mean, there's a
lot of others,
but Willie Mays is one of the greats. End of sentence, right? You don't need to defend. You don't need to compare. You don't need to critique. He's one. If you've got a handful of greatest hitters in the history of the sport, 5 of them, one handful, he is right there in that handful. So he's one of the greatest players in the history of the sport. And by the way, he's one of the great American sportsmen, so to speak, because when he played, baseball was baseball.
Yeah.
When he played, baseball was baseball. There's a big difference between Ken Griffey Jr. in the era he played in, which was still hanging on, and Willie Mays when he played, because the NFL wasn't the NFL until like post Mays, but the NFL now has dwarfed everything that you can't really compare athletes or baseball players from today to 50 to 75 years ago because of what baseball meant to America 50 and 75 years ago.
And as much as I kind of dislike Nick Wright, I actually kind of find myself attracted to what Nick Wright says a lot of times. I don't know why, I just do. And he made a great point about Willie Mays. When you look at his career and his Hall of Fame career and his numbers, it's as close, and this is Nick Wright's words, is that it's as close to a perfect, clean resume as you will get from a baseball player. Because there was no buts. There was no steroid eras. Like you said, like the pureness of baseball back then. There was no PEDs. There was no, like, it was just like as clean as baseball as you could possibly think about. And when you see his numbers, I mean, dude, they're insane. They're crazy numbers. And like his age 35 year, John, like, listen to this, or his age 34 year. All right. He won the MVP. He had 52 home runs, 112 RBIs. He had a 1,043 OPS, played 157 games. He also won the Gold Glove, made the All-Star team at his age 34 years old. He had a 645 slugging percentage, a 398 on base. He had 317 that year. And that was his age 34 season, 1965.
I mean, there's no doubt. I mean, he's one of the greats. What's interesting is he passes 2 days before this Giants-Cardinals game, right? Giants-Cardinals game at Rickwood Field in Birmingham, Alabama, which was his home field when he played at one point for the Birmingham Black Barons.
1948.
So it's kind of amazing. And they're recognizing former Black Barons before this game here tonight. It's kind of a surreal scene. If you know anything about Rickwood Field and its history in American baseball or in baseball, it's an unbelievable place. And you can watch it right now on Fox.
Did you also see that for the first time since 1979, when he got inducted to the Hall of Fame, 79 or 78, his actual Hall of Fame plaque is at the field right now, at like the actual Hall of Fame Willie Mays plaque that has not been taken out of Cooperstown
since then,
since 1979
is in Birmingham.
That's pretty cool. Alabama.
Yeah, it's a neat event. They're again honoring Rickwood Field, Negro Leagues, Birmingham Black Barons, former Negro League players, Willie Mays, of course, as well tonight as they'll play a game on Fox. All right, what do we got for the next question?
Will Manny have more or less than 20 home runs this year?
For the Padres' sake, I'm gonna, and I hope it's more than 20. I hope it is, because if it's not, that is a big problem, I feel like. So just for the betterment of the Padres, I'm just gonna say over 20.
I'm gonna say under, because I'm watching it unfortunately play out in front of our eyes, and I hope I'm wrong.
I hope
maybe
too.
It's a reverse.
Hope I'm right.
No, you hope you're right.
Yeah.
I mean, even if he really quickened his pace, 20 is a big increase here because he's 6 and we're 3 games away from half the year. I think 20 is realistic, Jim, but beyond that is I don't know how realistic that is.
I'm going under 2 for this reason. About a month ago, we had a question: will Manny hit 30 or more home runs? And now it's like now we're down to 20. So it's just like,
will he hit double-digit home runs?
That's where we're going next. Is he going to hit more than 15?
It is shocking because we were watching in the middle of the night in Korea, and he hit a ball like 450 feet.
Oh yeah,
I mean, he smoked the ball,
and it was a huge home run.
And at that point, I understood he wasn't fully healthy. He wasn't playing in the field. We all got it.
Right.
We understood it. And he had some setbacks with the throwing program, maybe in like February. So we had understood that. But when he homers like the way he did in Korea, and it's March, I'm not thinking there's going to be a scenario where he's hit 6 home runs in the middle of June. Now late June, it's June 20th. So whatever has happened here is inexplainable because or inexplicable. There's no way he went into the season thinking this would be the spot he's in because he's betting on himself. He's Manny Machado. He's like, I can overcome this. I've overcome other things. I don't go on the IL. I can overcome this. And he hasn't been able to. We talked about in the first hour. That's the most frustrating part, I think, to Manny. He's been able to do everything in his career, basically, other than win a World Series. And now he's just mired in this season-long slump that he can't figure out. And it's perplexing. And will it change? I have no idea. I really don't.
So with the injury to his elbow being worse than we may have thought, how much does that take away from like his struggles this year and him not performing? Or do you just sit there and go, look, you're out there, you got to perform. This team is in win now mode as far as a franchise goes. Like they have to win this year.
Mm-hmm.
No excuses. I don't care. Like it's unfortunate timing, but like, look, you get paid the big bucks, and if you're out there, you got to perform.
No, I mean, I think you've always taken the hard line. You play, you perform, right?
Well, not that you play, you have to perform.
Well, you play, you're not going to use injury as an excuse, right?
Right. You're out there, you're expected to perform.
But it's double-edged is what it is because Xander Bogaerts has no expectations because he's hurt, but someone that is hurt but plays has the same expectations as if they weren't hurt. So here's the thing. I think it's a legitimate excuse that nobody wants to hear, but I think it's legitimate. The legitimate excuse being he is actually nowhere near 100%. His own words. He's actually nowhere near 100%. Nobody's going to care at the end of the year if this team wins 80 games and misses the postseason, and he will be held accountable. But I said this the other night in the wrap-up show. I believe we'll see Manny be Manny again. I just don't know when because I think his elbow is a big reason why he isn't performing.
Do you think that some of the like frustration from the fan base, and it's clearly there, like if you don't think that Padres fans are not turning on Manny, but upset with Manny and there's angst there, probably a little blinded. I think there is. Yeah. I think there's a good amount.
Right.
When you look at his year and then you look at his elbow and everything, and you look at last season and him playing through the elbow, do you think some of it's because of him being stubborn enough to play through it and not shutting it down to get that surgery?
It's such a good question. I wish I knew the answer. Maybe like if he shut it down 35 days sooner, I'm just making it up, arbitrary number. Is he better off today because he's got 35 more days of all? So even if he shut it down at the end of August last year, we're not at the end of August yet this year. So we're not at 1 year. I mean, I would imagine he'd be better off if he shut it down, but how much better off? But I don't know. I mean, I advocated for him to shut it down. He doesn't want to listen to anyone. He wants to post numbers. The problem with Manny is that he sees it as like a sign of valor for being out there, where I'm thinking more like you got to be smart. Like he thinks leadership is doing everything he possibly can to be on the field, but he's got to do everything he possibly can to be on the field and be healthy.
Right.
Where that hasn't been the case.
The 50% Manny Machado is not helping. If you take a couple weeks off to get whatever you're going through somewhat right. I mean, think about this. It's like, would you want a 50% Manny Machado for 100 games, or would you want a 85, 90% Manny Machado for 70 games?
Yeah, I'm thinking about it. Yeah, you'd prefer the best version of Manny.
Yeah.
Is what you'd prefer.
I just think there's a stubbornness there. I also think there's humility and Manny Machado. Those two words don't really go together, especially when you hear stuff like what he has said recently. Um, but he's always been able to back it up with his play. Like he can be stubborn. He can have not as much humility as you maybe want him to have. But guess what? Tough S. He goes out there, puts up numbers. He goes out there, gives you 30 home runs a season, 270, 280 batting average, 800, 820 OPS. Goes out there, 150 games, plays great defense. It's good, right? And I don't think he's used to not being able to see a light where he's going to get those numbers.
Agreed, and that's where I think the Tuesday night frustration kind of boiled over, so to speak. Of hey, I think maybe we figured some things out, but the truth is, the stuff I'm doing prior to the game is not resulting during the game. In actuality, he's been a fine hitter here recently. Like if you just looked at sheer numbers, he's hit a little bit. He's hit for no power though. And the team hasn't played well. So he alone for I just pull an arbitrary number. The last 30 games, he's been fine. I don't know what he's hit. It's not bad. 275, making up 300 even. But he's hit for no power, and it hasn't resulted in team wins. That's the issue. Yeah, but he's not hitting 140. He's not can't hit the side of a barn, Manny Machado, right now.
No.
He's just not hitting impactful. He hasn't had impactful moments.
Right. And it's not just Manny for why they had a 1-5 road trip.
Definitely not.
Manny's not pitching. Manny's not leads in the 9th inning.
Right.
Manny's not. Well, he isn't, but you know what I mean. A lineup wide. Can't hit lefties. Right. Can't hit runners in scoring position. Right. Manny's is a part of that, but still, Donovan Solano's hitting, I think, behind Manny the other day and does absolutely nothing.
Right.
He's, by the way, definitely cooled off a lot. There's a lot of factors to this team, but listening earlier in the show when we talked with Josh Mauer, the culture of the Brewers, if you look at their roster, you'd be like, that's a fine roster. Nothing really sticks out to you, right? But their culture has got them, along with players that are playing well, to where they are because of their culture of the team. The culture has withstood losses of their all-star closer, losses of their manager of the year who said, yeah, no, thanks. I want to go to the division rival Cubs, losses of whatever else you want to say. They have dealt with this kind of the same thing. They traded away one of their star pitchers this past offseason to the Orioles. Okay. They've dealt with losses, yet they are still a consistent winning team because of their culture. I do think the culture plays a role, and I don't think the culture here is what the Padres think it is and say it is. I'm not saying it's all Manny. I'm just saying that from a team standpoint, that culture isn't a winning culture.
There's some of that in there. I mean, if you just look at the roster, you would take the Padres. If you're a baseball fan, which roster, you would take the Padres. But one team's 44-30, the other is 38-40. Let's go to Tim here, who's been on hold. 877-767-4760. If you want to weigh in, we're going to get to the Swish League, NBA Summer League, coming up at 4:30 with its league director. But right now, let's get to Tim, who's on with Jon and Jim. Tim, thanks for calling in.
Kind of hurts me to say this, but John's right. It is kind of this badge of honor for Manny to play hurt. And I think earlier in his career, he's had so much talent that 60% of Manny is better than his replacement. But right now, as he's getting up there in age, 60% of Manny being injured, playing through that, isn't really helping this team. And moving on to the next point where you mentioned culture, I think our culture really is driven by Manny as much as he doesn't want to be a leader, but he sets this example of, I'm going to play hurt because it's what, I'm going to do and what's best for the team. The biggest example of that, and a smaller one after, would be Joe Musgrove. What's going on with Joe? Why hasn't he gotten the surgery? He knew he needed to get something done last year in the offseason, so much so that he changed up. He was throwing more curveballs to take some pressure off of his elbow this year. Didn't really show any effectiveness, still got injured. Now he's saying that he's going to change his throwing motion so he doesn't have to get a surgery. And he's doing his own research. He got a PRP injection. He's doing all these things. And I think the same could be said to a lesser extent for Arias. Since his shoulder injury, he's been performing really poorly. So this issue of culture, guys pulling through this adversity, what is the identity and the culture of San Diego? Unfortunately, right now, it's setting a bad example from Manny. And I love Manny. He's a great guy. I feel, certain times he represents the team well, but our culture really isn't up to snuff, and that's why we're behind the Brewers, but having more talent.
We appreciate the call. Thank you. I don't know if the injuries to Joe Musgrove and Luis Arias and how they're dealing with them has anything to do with how Manny is dealing with his own injuries. I don't know if that was the tie. Was he making that
I think what Tim is trying to
correlation
say, like when the leader of your team is going out there playing through injuries, everyone says, I better go out there and play through injuries because if the leader's doing it, then I need to do it.
Which I don't think is the worst characteristic in professional sports, but I don't know if Joe Musgrove is saying, well, I see Manny out there, so I got to get back in the field.
I don't think so either. And I don't really, that's a different subject and different topic. Like I just don't really trust this organization when it comes to arm injuries at all, but that's for another day. I think Luis Arias is just not fully healthy. Same thing with Tatis, by the way. I mean, Tatis was literally running on one leg yesterday.
I think their biggest issue, well beyond culture, is they're all hurt. Yeah. I really do believe. I mean, they got some real injuries that are impacting them, and they're playing every single day, 26 games in 27 days with injuries, and they're not playing well.
I mean, Tatis was literally running down the first baseline on one leg yesterday.
I know. He hobbled through the bag and stayed in the game. All right, on the other side, stay on hold if you want to get your call. We will do that later this hour. But on the other side, Summer League basketball returning to San Diego for the 6th consecutive year. We'll catch up with the director of the Swish League on the other side. Stay with us on Jon and Jim. All right, so imagine waking up this time next week and being 100% debt-free with no credit cards, no car loan, no personal loan. Hey, guys, it's Schaefer, and Loan Pronto's Equity Express line of credit can make it happen. Homeowners put equity into cash. Loan Pronto's AI-based system, you can get approval in about 10 minutes with almost no documentation, no appraisal, and no hassle. You can get hundreds of thousands of dollars out of your home, and you can use that money to pay off all your other loans. The average homeowner saves over $850 a month doing this. Listen, your home value is way up, and you can use that to wipe out all those credit cards. Maybe get some money for home improvement. Literally hundreds of thousands are at your fingertips. Approval is just minutes away. Here's the number to call: 619-207-4336. Again, 619-207-4336 or loanpronto.com. That's 619-207-4336. NMLS 1661781. Subject to lender approval. Equal housing lender.
All right, this update's brought to you by Taco Bell. Padres return home tonight after a really bad 1-5 road trip to take on the Brewers for a 4-game series. 6:40 first pitch. Adam Major starting tonight for the Padres. 6:40 first pitch, Petco Park. Moving over to NBA. Not shocking. The Lakers hired J.J. Redick to be their next head coach. 4-year deal for J.J. Redick, the podcaster. The Cravings Value Menu from Taco Bell, 10 items, each for just $3 or less, including faves like the cheesy double beef burrito, loaded beef nachos, and the 3-cheese chicken flatbread melt at participating U.S. stores while supplies last. Prices do vary. Taxes extra. Double seasoned beef compared to the Burrito Supreme.
All right, we've got the director of the Swish League back with us here, Kwaku Omwaku, back with us on Jon and Jim, San Diego Sports 760, 6th year of Summer League basketball right here in San Diego. It gets underway this weekend at Lincoln High School on Sunday. This is free parking, free games throughout the course of the summer. We'll learn more about it here over the next handful of minutes. But Kwaku Omwaku back with us. He goes by Coach Koo. I think you're cool with us going with Coach Koo as well for the conversation. But tell us what's on tap. Again, year 6 of the Swish League. So many great players have played in the Swish League, gone on to professional careers, high level of college basketball, played in the NBA even. What's on tap for year 6? And thanks for hopping on.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I appreciate you guys for giving us love and having us on again, man. We're super excited this year, and every year we learn, we grow, and so we got a lot of great things on tap. Of course, first and foremost, we always want to make this a family thing, a family event. We want people to come and bring their families out and enjoy a really cool environment. So we have lots of guest appearances throughout the summer. Of course, we have a lot of San Diego State guys will be there and playing. We definitely have a lot of commitments for those guys, and then it's also a whole San Diego thing as well too. So UCSD will be well represented, USD, all the colleges in the area. But we also have a handful of more than a handful, a lot of guys who are overseas pros, NBA guys that all live in the area who have all committed to play throughout the summertime. And it's a really cool thing. If anybody hasn't been down there, we play at Lincoln High School down in the Southeast County. It's awesome down there. As far as their hospitality, the people come out, the fans are there. It's just a great event, a great show, and it's a chance for you to get to see some guys that normally you pay hundreds and sometimes thousands of dollars to get a chance to see from far away. You get a chance to be in an intimate setting with them and ask questions and ask for autographs and take pictures. And these guys are really engaging as well, and they love to see their fans and engage with them, in such an intimate and tight setting. And so it's a unique, very unique event that we have every year. It only lasts 6 weeks, but it's something where all the guys who are in the area get a chance to be together in one gym, whether it be all the coaches and college players, high school players, pro players, and all get to kind of congregate and meet and network and just big basketball and just try to elevate basketball in the city for San Diego.
And we've seen some of the names that are going to be competing in this. For you, how is it to get commitments from these guys? Is it easy? Is it a tough process? Or, what's the process that you go through to get the commitments from these players to play in this Swish League?
Sure. I mean, a lot of these guys, they've played with us before. So, first and foremost, especially when you're talking NBA players and then the Division I guys, San Diego State, UCSD, USD especially, when you're talking those guys, they want to make sure they're in an environment that they're protected. These guys are there to kind of hone their skills against one another. So, we try to make it an environment where they're safe. So we have NBA level certified G League and WNBA referees that are there. So, the game is called a certain way. We call the game at an NBA rules, regulations, things like that. And then these guys, they're with other guys who are high-level pros, high-level college guys. So they understand how to play and make the game high-level, continue to work on their craft and get ready for the upcoming season, but also be able to give entertainment to the fans, and make it worth their while to come out and get a chance to see these guys play and be on the court. So that makes it really easy to get commitments to these guys because we know that we run the thing very well and that we're looking out for them. And then also, when you get one to play and one has a buddy and this guy has a buddy that wants to play, and then they kind of talk a little bit, and they want to play against each other. And, the bragging rights of San Diego is real. So people are going to be able to talk throughout the fall and let everybody know who won in the summer and, kind of gas it up and get people ready to go for the next summer. So it's kind of a thing that snowballed and it's turned into a really, really fun event. So, we're looking forward to having those guys show up. But, getting those guys to come out is definitely harder than it looks sometimes. There's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes. But we have such a great staff, from the co-commissioner down to our director of operations, and all the way down to, even support staff. We have such a great staff that helps us out to be able to do those types of things and be able to get these guys there. And then once they're there, make them feel comfortable and make them feel, in an environment where not only it's safe, but it's a fun thing they can come out and do and they enjoy it when they're there.
We're catching up on the Swish League. It'll get underway this Sunday in San Diego, Lincoln High School. It is a free event. Summer League basketball returning to San Diego for a sixth consecutive year. Specifically, again, Coach Koo, for our listeners, we have so many San Diego State listeners with the flagship for San Diego State. From an Aztec perspective, I think about the last couple of years from the Swish League to like a national championship game. I'm watching like Keyshawn Johnson, Matt Bradley, Micah Parrish.
Yeah.
Mensa, I think, is expected to appear again this summer as well. From an Aztec lens, what can San Diego State fans expect over the next handful of weeks in terms of participants and former players and current players?
It's going to be fun. They are going to have a wide variety of alumni players and current players, and then they're going to get a chance to take a look at some new guys that are coming, that have come to join the team this year. So it's going to be a really cool thing. I know we have one team, the Valley Farm. They have alumni, Lorenzo Wade, Billy White, some other guys like that, Matt Bradley, Nathan Mensa, who are going to be paired with Miles Bird and Jared Coleman-Jones. So it'll be teams like that where we have guys who are older guys who are going to be playing with younger guys. So we'll have kind of a wide variety for all Aztec fans to be able to see, guys who they watched over the years and they loved and they'll still follow in the pro ranks, and then get to see guys who are currently there, who have played and have given so much to the program, like Miles and, guys like that. And then newer guys, with some of the guys coming in, Taj Gorville or Farrell Compton, Kimo Ferrara, all those different guys who are coming in, get a chance to kind of see what they look like. And, when we first started this, back in, 2019, 2020, those guys, we had guys like Yanni and Micah and Darion Trammell has played throughout the year. So, it's always a good chance for the transfers that come in, for them to kind of get a look and get a feel for the fans in San Diego, and them to get the fans to get a good chance to see them and, how good they are. Because I remember Darion and some of those guys started to play, and, it was kind of a first glimpse of, who they were, as far as even Jaden Ledee, those guys. And then, being able to see some of the Aztec greats be out there and play and getting up and down and being able to cheer those guys on as well, too.
For fans that want to attend and watch, how can they do that, and where they need to go to figure out those details?
Yeah, you can go to swishproam.com. That has we have our website is updated. It has all our information on there. It has team rosters, so you can kind of see who's on each roster there. And then also you can go to the social media, the Swish Pro-Am. And we have everything on Instagram as well too, and Twitter and all that stuff. Just hit the link to the bios, and that should send you to information and things like that.
We have a question off our text line for Coach Koo from an Aztec fan. Is Magoon Guath expected to play?
Magoon is not expected to play this season.
All right. Simple as that. Yeah. All right. Because there's been a lot of fascination from Aztec fans. There's been a lot of curiosity, a lot of fascination. Redshirted a year ago. Potentially a big part of San Diego State moving forward as well. We're looking forward to it. We really are. I'll be there absolutely a number of times, I'm sure, over the course of the next 6 weeks for our listeners. Hope to see you out there at Lincoln High School, Kwaku Amwaku. The director,
yes,
I said that right. I still have the sound file from you last year when you sent it to me, the pronunciation, because I wanted to get it right.
Don't ask me, though.
You knocked that one out the park. That's fantastic.
When's it start Sunday?
First game's 12:15 on Sunday. And we have our game of the week. Our feature game this week will be Valley Farm versus the Elite Ballers. If you guys go on the website, you'll be able to see the roster out there and see who's playing. And it'll be a high-level game. It'll be a lot of people in the building. So, that's just people out there and check it out. If you cannot get out there should be information to live stream that you can find as well too on the website or on the social media as well too.
Great stuff, Coach Koo. We appreciate it. We'll see you out there this summer. Thanks for doing it.
Hey, I always appreciate you guys. Thank you for the love, and God bless everybody. And please, we love everybody to come out, enjoy it, bring the family out. It'll be a great event.
All right, great stuff. We'll be there this summer. I'll probably be there this Sunday.
Yes, you probably will.
Matt Bradley, Nathan Mensah.
Do you have the list in front of you?
I sent it to you yesterday. I mean, it's an amazing list of current, former Aztecs and San Diego basketball players in general. It's an unbelievable list.
A couple newcomers too that if you want to see.
Freshmen.
Yep.
He mentioned Taj DeGorville, Pharaoh Compton. I sent you a tweet last
Jared
night.
Coleman
right?
Jones.
What was the tweet I sent you last night?
Yeah, that's the list right here.
Yeah, what's it? Read off some of the list.
Miles Bird, Jared Coleman Jones, Billy White, Matt Bradley, Nathan Mensah, Lorenzo Wade, Boogie Ellis.
How about that? Wasn't Boogie Ellis just in the combine? Isn't he about to get drafted?
He says he's a pro.
Yeah. That's one team, by the way.
Yeah, Jake Elstrom. I don't know how to say this name. I'm not even going to try.
Okay, let me see.
You'll know which name it is.
From Mansfield University?
Yeah.
Richard Oppong?
No, not him.
Okay. Anyway, get out there. Swish League actually getting underway this. What are you showing me? I don't know that name.
Exactly.
I don't know. I don't know everything. Anyway, it's only one roster. Go find it online. Find the Swish League. Find the rosters. A lot of Aztecs, current and former, participating this summer. All right. Who wants to win a 4-pack of tickets to the San Diego County Fair? You need to call 877-767-4760 right now. First 2 callers will be our contestants for trivia. We call it Trainwreck Radio. Great prize. The fair is underway now through July 7th in Del Mar. If you want a free 4-pack of tickets to Del Mar, a great value, call 877-767-4760. Again, 877-767-4760. Trainwreck Radio's next. All right, Trainwreck Radio on the other side. Alan Sliwa on the hiring of J.J. Redick at 5. Alan Sliwa was going to join us. Native San Diegan, lifelong Padres fan, covers the Lakers
I
in
wonder
LA.
what he's talking about today.
He's been talking about J.J. Redick would be my guess in LA.
Probably.
Or is he talking Padres baseball? You think that goes over well in ESPN LA? They talk
He's
about
like, I
Padres
know they
baseball,
just hired J.J. Redick, guys.
but game one.
But this Padres team, I mean,
Let's talk Manny.
thankfully they're facing 4 straight righties because this team can't hit lefties if they even tried.
The one conversation you probably could have seriously on like an LA sports radio station that remains topical is Manny Machado because
Only
he
if
played
they're
for the
playing the
Dodgers.
Dodgers.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. I do think that's probably relevant and topical enough to actually discuss freely. But yeah, you're not talking Padres. In LA. We are, though, in San Diego, thankfully. So anyway, Alan Sliwa was going to join us. We'll talk about the Padres and the Lakers, the hiring of J.J. Redick coming up at 5 p.m. But right now, let's play.
All right, 3 questions, 2 contestants, 1 lifeline. Today's 2 contestants, we have Ken and we have Mark. Ken, you called in first. So you have your choice of Jon or Jim. Who do you want to go with?
I'll go with Jon.
All right, so Ken and Jon.
And Mark and Jim. Mark, you there?
I'm here.
All right, perfect. I'm your partner, Brent. What is the question of the day?
Does Ken go by Ken or Kenneth?
Kenneth, but I called him Ken on accident, so we're sticking with it.
Okay.
As long as Kenneth is cool with it.
We're going to go with Ken.
We're cool.
All right, guys, we kind of touched on it earlier. J.J. Redick is the new coach of the Lakers. He is the 8th Lakers head coach since Phil Jackson left in 2011. Today's question, name any of the other 7 head coaches that the Lakers have had since Phil Jackson left.
Well, if you were listening earlier,
an hour ago.
Yep, so if you're paying attention, Jim,
all of them.
you gave most of them.
Mark, you're up first. What's your first guess? And you do have a lifeline if you choose to use it.
I'll go Mike Brown.
Mike Brown.
Well done.
I did not say that name, but
You said every name but that.
I think I did.
Yeah.
Yes. Ken, you're up next. What is your first guess? You do have a lifeline if you choose to use it.
Darvin Ham.
Darvin Ham just got canned.
These guys know their hoops, Jim.
They do. Mark.
Was that a canned ham joke, Jim?
Yes, it was, Brent. Mark, you're up next. What's your second guess? You do have a lifeline if you choose to use it.
Byron Scott.
Byron Scott
See, I wouldn't have said that.
on the list.
Okay.
Ken, back to you. What is your second guess? You do have a lifeline if you choose to use it.
Frank Vogel.
Frank Vogel on the list. Good job. Back to you, Mark, to go perfect 3 for 3 here. What is your final guess? And you do have a lifeline if you choose to use it.
Luke Walton.
Luke Walton. There we go. Back to you, Ken. Final guess to send this to overtime. What do you got? You do have a lifeline if you want to use it too.
Bernie Bickerstaff.
You could use a lifeline. Oh,
Bernie
wow.
Bickerstaff is on the list.
Bernie.
I was the lifeline, right?
No, I was the lifeline.
Who was that?
He's
Mark
on the
or Ken?
list.
No, John was the lifeline.
Oh,
Yeah,
sorry,
it was Ken.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's
I
Ken.
was very nervous. I had no clue.
Now we're going to
I was
overtime.
done.
Bickerstaff was there after between Mike Brown and Mike D'Antonio, who no one said.
And did we miss anyone now that we're going overtime?
Yeah, Mike D'Antoni,
Okay.
and that's it.
Okay.
All right. So, Brent, rules of overtime. And the
All right,
question.
how overtime is going to work is I'm going to ask you guys a question. When I'm done asking the question, you're going to yell at the name of your partner you had today. So don't yell out the answer. You're going to yell John or Jim. Whoever yells out the name of your partner first, you're going to win the game by getting it right, or you're going to lose the game by getting it wrong. Do you guys got it?
Yep.
Okay. Today's overtime question. Where did JJ Redick go to college?
Jim.
Oh,
I heard Jim.
Yeah, I kind of heard both.
Mark, what do you got?
Duke.
All right. Mark's the winner.
Wow.
Brent said he heard Jim.
That was close, man.
That may have been close, but Mark is the winner. He did go to Duke for how many years? All of them. Four. Kind of like pre-portal, right? Like kind of.
Well, I was kind of surprised. I was going to do all-time leading scorers in Duke because he's like the all-time leading scorer in Duke because he's the only person that stayed there for 4 years.
Yeah.
What are JJ Redick's? Here's a question for Jim. This is a trivia for Jim. Nobody say anything. What are JJ Redick's career earnings?
Career earnings?
How many years?
I don't even really have it. I just Googled it because it's probably a huge number, is it not?
Like 180 million.
That's a big number, right? I don't have the answer.
I don't know. Why'd you ask me the question?
Because I'm
then?
very curious. It's a massive
I
number.
thought you were gonna ask me like.
I got it.
What is it?
118.
Oh, okay.
You said 180. That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
It's a lot of money. Anyway, 4-year deal for JJ Redick. We'll catch up with Alan Sliwa on the other side with more on that least surprising move ever here today. Congratulations, though, because you have won a 4-pack of tickets to the San Diego County Fair going on now through July 7th. Del Mar Fairgrounds. Let's look back, have some fun together, and go retro. For tickets and info, go to sdfair.com. If you didn't win today, another opportunity to win those tickets tomorrow. Tomorrow, by the way, Jim, we will be downtown.
Correct.
Padres Brewers game 2. We will be at the Naughty Barrel.
Correct.
So come join us. I don't know the pitching matchup for tomorrow. Did you realize the Padres are facing 4 right-handed starters this week?
Yes, I said that.
I wasn't listening.
I know you weren't.
Do you realize that whomever they're going to play next is going to throw 3 left-handed starters at them? That'll be Washington.
I did realize that.
Did you say that?
No.
So 4 righties.
3 lefties.
By the way, it's 4 like kind of average number righties.
Yeah.
By the way, with Milwaukee.
Well, the average pitchers usually do great.
I know, but I'm just saying 4 righties, then 3 lefties. What do you have, Brent?
Tomorrow it's Colin Ray against Dylan Cease.
Okay. Dylan Cease tomorrow night.
Yes.
Join us from the Naughty Barrel, 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. Darren Smith broadcasting live beginning at CC tomorrow for the Padres. All right, on the other side, more on the Padres about to begin a homestand against the Milwaukee Brewers, plus the hiring of JJ Redick. Alan Sliwa, the host of Lakers Talk and Leakers Talk for ESPN LA, will join us to kick off hour 3 of Jon and Jim next.
This update's brought to you by Taco Bell. Padres and Brewers kick off a 4-game series tonight at Petco Park. 6:40 first pitch. Adam Mazur starts tonight for the Padres. And NBA news, the Lakers today hired J.J. Redick to be their next head coach, signing him to a 4-year contract. The Cravings Value Menu from Taco Bell, 10 items, each for just $3 or less, including faves like the cheesy double beef burrito, loaded beef nachos, and the 3-cheese chicken flatbread melt at participating U.S. stores while supplies last. Prices varies, taxes extra, double seasoned beef compared to the Burrito Supreme.
All right, San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? It's hour 3 of Jon and Jim. We're getting you ready for tonight at Petco Park. Padres and Brewers. We're also catching up with the news today. The least surprising news ever. J.J. Redick will be the next Lakers head coach, a 4-year deal. There was the Hail Mary Dan Hurley discussion for a period of a few days, but they do end up with J.J. Redick. We're catching up, as we often do, with Alan Sliwa. Lakers Talk, ESPN LA, back with us here on Jon and Jim, San Diego Sports 760. Alan, we always appreciate it. We'll get into the Padres, of course, because we know you're a fan and a San Diegan. But starting with J.J. Redick, I think you said it when you joined us over a month ago. Like, this is the most likely scenario. So does this remain kind of like the least surprising news ever that they did go with J.J. Redick?
I think so. I think, the whole process of Dan Hurley getting in the mix, that was the surprise. That's the one that I can think threw a curveball to everybody. And the fact that Dan Hurley churned them down and probably used the Lakers for just additional leverage with UConn, and the Lakers end up settling with J.J. Redick. Yeah, I don't think this is a big shocker. Some people were saying, why is it taking so long? J.J. Redick had mentioned that he wanted to wait till the NBA Finals ended, which ended on Monday night. So a few days later, the deal gets done. I don't think this one's that much of a surprise.
How do you view the optics of this whole situation? Because it seems like this is their second choice. It seems like he just got hired because he's doing a podcast with LeBron. Are these the optics that the Lakers are gonna, they're okay with? Because it's kind of crazy to think that they didn't think these would be them after they would hire J.J. Redick, right?
Yeah, I think I think just as big as any of the stuff that you just mentioned. J.J. Redick has never coached a game in the NBA. He's never sat on a bench as an assistant coach or an NBA coach. Lakers are a franchise that has recycled through a lot of coaches in a short time span. I think 6 coaches in 13 years. So you're basically saying a little bit over 2 years as far as an average. Whatever the chatter is, I think the only way the Lakers were going to walk away and somebody was going to feel comfortable with the situation, or the fans would feel comfortable with the situation, or even, current teams and GMs around the league, is they got Ty Lue, or they got Jason Kidd, or they got Dan Hurley. I think the fact that it ended up being J.J. Redick, and you do have the ties with LeBron, it does seem like I would just say this. I would just say that I have no idea how he's going to do. I have no way of telling if he's going to be a good head coach. And I think most people are kind of have the same perception on the franchise and the organization. Is, if you had to guess, in a couple of years, will he still be the head coach of the Lakers? It's a long time in Lakerland, and that's going to be tough, I think, with this roster to have a bunch of success. But there have been times that the Lakers have found ways to do that, even with a roster that was less than, or they find a way to improve the roster.
Alan Sliwa, ESPN LA, back with us here, Jon and Jim, San Diego Sports 760. Correct me if I'm wrong. There was this belief, or did Dan Hurley essentially say that there was a number he could have been essentially had for, like, if it would have been just this mind-numbing number, years or dollars?
It was with Dan Le Batard.
With Dan Le Batard, thank you. Do you believe that to be factual? And if so, why didn't the Lakers offer him more years or more money, in your opinion?
I don't believe that. I think, first off, I think when the dust settled and people saw that it was a 6-year, $70 million offer, I don't think that was as big of a deal as people were trying to make it out to be, right? I think
it felt like he wanted to stay out on the East Coast. It feels like he kind of can walk and over these next couple of years and pick any NBA job, not any NBA job, but there's going to be a lot of opportunities that I'm sure will be attractive to him. I don't know if they, if the terms was 6 years, 80 million, is that the difference? 6 years, 90 million, is that the difference? I think if he really wanted to coach the Los Angeles Lakers, I feel like they probably would have come up with a resolution. And ultimately, it didn't sound like the numbers were good enough anyways, but I just felt like the Lakers were more being used as leverage.
How much does them hiring JJ Redick, LeBron's podcast buddy, help with keeping LeBron in a Lakers uniform?
I think LeBron was gonna stay either way. I really do. I think I call a lot of this bluff in the offseason, and I don't think LeBron's going anywhere. I think he has reasons why he wants to stay in Los Angeles. I don't think because they hired JJ Redick that it's a lock or a guarantee. I think if they hired somebody else, I mean, you pick the name, unless it was I don't know, maybe someone that he didn't like or he didn't have a good relationship with, but I just never going to go anywhere. And I don't feel like getting JJ Redick was going to sway him one way or the other.
Alan Stewart with us right now, Jon and Jim, San Diego Sports 760. How can they, or how do they plan to improve this roster maybe in the offseason? Again, limited dollars, drafts coming, but it's not like they've got a top 2 or 3 or 4 pick currently. I know some of these aging stars are playing in the Olympics supposedly as well coming up. So what are the plans this summer, beginning maybe next week with the NBA draft?
I think part of the frustration with Darvin Ham was there wasn't enough development for the younger players. So I think the hope is JJ Redick's going to be able to develop the Max Christie's of the world, get more out of Rui Hachimura, Austin Reeves kind of continuing his development. I think there's players on the roster that they're hoping are just better a year from now or when the next season starts. But I also do think there's probably some hope that I'm sure they're hoping D'Angelo Russell opts into his contract so they can do some type of sign and trade. I think that's one way of trying to improve the roster. I think vet minimums are always something that the Lakers look at, and there have been times that I don't know how attractive it's going to be this year, but there have been times Lakers have been able to bring a player in that's going to use the Lakers as the Lakers are going to use him to try to go get a contract somewhere else. Malik Monk is a good example. There's some other players out there have used the Lakers and then ended up with a long-term deal somewhere else, just because there's so much attention always to the Lakers. But look, they're going to have their challenges. I saw a little bit earlier. I'm sure you guys saw it too. Alex Caruso traded from the East. He's now with the Oklahoma City Thunder. That seems like a really good move. Ja Morant will be back next year for Memphis. Phoenix and Golden State, they'll try to do some stuff. And I'm not even counting the top 5 teams that, when the dust settled, Minnesota, Denver, Dallas, going to be a lot of challenges in the Western Conference.
When you look at his coaching staff, how much is that going to tell you about everything with who they hire? Because you would think that they're going to need a good amount of experience on that bench with JJ Redick literally not being a head coach anywhere in his entire life.
Yeah, I think that's, I think ultimately the thing I would pay attention to most of what just happened today is, did Rob Pelinka hit a home run, or was this is this a hire that we're going to say in a couple years from now? Well, of course he didn't do well. He's never coached in the NBA. We had an interesting conversation on our show this morning, and we were talking about how, let's use Jason Kidd, who was in the NBA Finals. Jason Kidd had previous stints. Jason Kidd was an assistant coach. Jason Kidd was a head coach in Brooklyn. He was a head coach in Milwaukee. It didn't happen right away, right? So to have success, JJ Redick can be fired from the Lakers in 2 years, and that's not saying JJ Redick can't be a good coach in the NBA. It could just be he wasn't ready to be a head coach, or he's got a lot to learn from. So to go back to your original question, and the reason why I brought up Rob Pelinka in the front office and Jeannie Buss is, are you going to go cheap with your assistants, or are you going to go get some real assistants where it's going to cost you some money? That I think is going to be the bigger question.
I know we've asked you this before. I'll ask it again because we're less than a week out from the start of the NBA draft. Is it a formality between the Lakers and Bronny James, or what are your expectations in terms of a likelihood he ends up with the Lakers between now and, let's say, the day after the draft?
Yeah, I don't know how to feel about that.
Right.
I'm just assuming that, the Lakers would take him at 55 if he's there. But, part of me also thinks that there could be another team that just says, let's get some attention.
Right.
Let's get some headlines. Let's get, we're a late second rounder and we have the number 50 pick. Let's grab Bronny James. I don't think that is completely unheard of. And I know that as much as LeBron and Rich Paul would like to see him end up falling to number 55, well, it's not up to them. There's other teams that have picks in front of them as well. But I think a team that takes him, it's more about attention and it's less about basketball.
And the story that came out, I think it was the other day with Rich Paul, and like it's that they didn't want to make a whole thing about Bronny and the Lakers, and it didn't matter and this and that. What did you make of that story? Kind of LeBron distancing himself from this idea of like wanting to play with Bronny.
Yeah, I don't believe it, but I think that's what they have to say.
Yeah.
I think LeBron had already said it before. He already let that cat out of the bag, and that's okay. If LeBron's saying, "Hey, of course, it's a dream if I was able to play with my son in the NBA," I'm sure it is a dream for him. But hey, Bronny is a complete question mark, and if his last name wasn't James, we wouldn't even be having the conversation about this. So I think whatever they say, I just don't believe when it comes to that. A, because LeBron has always said he wants to play with his son, and B, I understand that that's what they're supposed to say, but I just don't believe it.
Alan, final one for me is going to stem towards the Padres who are back home. Just a miserable trip.
How
Obviously.
you doing? Are you okay?
Yeah, 1-5 trip, 38 and 40 overall. I mean, it's the same old story. They don't play well, but they don't really lose much ground. I mean, how do you feel about the Padres today compared to maybe a year ago today when they were in a similar spot, I guess?
Well, so for what it's worth, I was there actually Monday at Citizens
Bank Park.
Citizens Bank, yeah. Was at the game on Monday, so I got to watch firsthand 18 hits from the opposing team. That's not very fun.
Well, lucky you. You got to witness a virtual highlight reel of the game.
Actually, there could have been a worse picture because I was initially going to go to the final game against the Mets on Sunday, and then follow that up with Padres Phillies on Monday. So I would have caught 2 L's. So I'm glad I only got to catch 1. How I feel about it, I think every Padre fan and everyone in San Diego feels the same way. It's a very frustrating team to watch. I think there is a little bit of this is who they are. I think it's just becoming more and more a reality of, they can win. Would you guys be, let's say you got the Brewers right here. Maybe this is a little too optimistic, but it wouldn't be crazy for them to win 3 or 4 against Milwaukee, just because they've had stints where maybe Atlanta, or use the Dodgers as an example. They've beat KC. They took 2 of 3 and had a chance to win that third game. It's not uncommon, but I think the frustrating thing for me, and I'm sure you guys feel the same way, it's the series against the Angels. It's the series against the Mets. It's these games against the Rockies. Those are killer. And I feel better this year than I did a year ago. And the only reason why is because the NL, there's a lot of trash teams. And listen, I don't care how they get into a wild card. I just want to see them get into a wild card. But do I feel like they would be a true threat? I guess anything can happen in a 3-game set, a 5-game set, a 7-game set. But they definitely have to be so much better than they are. A lot of these players making unbelievable amount of money have to show some kind of value, and they got to get healthy too.
Alan, always appreciate it, my friend. We're looking forward to the draft, the summer of news throughout the NBA. Again, JJ Redick will be the next head coach of the LA Lakers. Alan, always appreciate it. Thanks for joining us in San Diego, man.
Thank you, fellas.
All right, good stuff. Alan Sliwa, the host of Lakers Talk, and Travis and Slee on ESPN LA.
Man, what a privilege for him to be able to watch that defensive clinic on Monday.
What an opportunity.
Yeah.
We haven't even really touched much on the overall trip, which I remember saying at the beginning of the trip, I'm like, They could go 1-5 on the trip and like lose no ground, and it happened. They went 1-5 on the trip.
They
They're
really lost no
half
ground.
game out. Now, Brent made an interesting point, which is you can't keep getting away with it, can you? Like playing poorly and hanging in it.
It will catch up to you.
It will catch up to you eventually, but it as of today, it actually has not. Now, they'll have a thinner path because Brent's points are right, your points are right, our points are right. There's 8-9 teams that are very similar. You're going to have to separate. You're not going to just play this type of baseball all year and be like, yeah, we separated by winning 77 games. No, that's not going to happen. So they'll have work to do. But as we sit here on June 20th, it's very reasonable, the work they have to do in front of them.
It is. And with this last road trip they just had, which was awful, by the way. I mean, there's no way around it. You can spin it however you want. Thank God they got that final win.
Right. That would have been historically bad.
It would have been the first time they got swept in a 6-game road trip since I think
08-09?
Early 2000s.
Yeah, I saw it somewhere. It's been a while.
Been over
Yeah.
15
plus years. It's one of those things after they lost on Tuesday, I laughed. I was like, man, there's so much. Not kidding.
It was, that game, I just jumped up. Frankly,
Robert Suarez, that can't happen.
there was no like egregious move that showed me. Why did he bring in so and so instead of so and so or whatever the case may be? Or it was just Robert Suarez, who's been perfect all year long, hasn't lost a game that he's in. And the Phillies, who are the best team in the National League, just got hit at the wrong time. I don't take anything really away. They lost. Monday's loss was worse, obviously.
Wait, I mean, they just didn't really show up.
And to beat the best lefty in the National League and stay in it was a credit to them and a credit to Matt Waldron, who, if I told you at the beginning of the year, John, that on June 20th, their two best players would be Matt Waldron and Jurickson Profar, you would tell me,
you said
stop.
16 minutes.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, Waldron's an amazing story, and I don't know if you can just expect it all year to play out this way. I hope it does. Profar is an amazing story, and I don't know if you can expect it to play out like this all year, and I hope it does. It felt like yesterday, and it's not true. They could have lost the game 3-1 to Ranger Suarez, and they still would have been very much alive, right? Would it feel different? I think it would feel a little bit different because heading into Wednesday, we did a wrap-up show. And we're like, do they have something to prove to us on Wednesday? And we're both like, yeah, I guess kind of. And they actually did something they needed to do, which was beat a good pitcher. They had to end the lengthy road losing streak. They had to beat a lefty. They had to stop the skid, and they just did it. Nothing has changed. No. The grand story of 38-40 or 37-41, it's all similar. But do I have a little more hope based on what happened yesterday? I mean, it's better than the alternative. I mean, if they had lost 6 straight and are coming home, how would you be? I mean, you'd be rock bottom feeling in your stomach about this team.
Because as this inconsistency continues, it's going to be a situation where we're going to start hearing the same messaging that we heard last year, right? And the years before, where time's running out and we're going to get it going. We believe in ourselves, and then you look up and you're like, oh, season's almost over. Like you have to kind of end this now, have a good homestand here. Won't be easy because you're facing two teams, one who's, one of the best in the National League for 4, and then the other who's throwing 3 lefties against you. And oh, by the way, they are ahead of you in the wild card standings or tied with you or whatever the case may be.
There. Yeah.
That's how they're going to finish off their first half, is against all teams either that are really good or teams that are right in there with them in the National League for the wild card. So I view it as a very crucial stretch here into the All-Star break. Mm-hmm. If you go to the All-Star break 5-6 games under, that's not going to have you're not going to breed much confidence in your fan base, especially when you start the second half with a 10 or 11 game road trip. I think a 10 game road trip or 11.
Yeah, no, 9 or 10 over like 11 or 12 days
in Baltimore, in Washington,
Cleveland, maybe?
And Cleveland.
Amazing.
Or I think it's Cleveland first, then Washington, then
whatever it
Baltimore.
It's not easy.
Daunting road trip.
It is. What do you got, bro?
it's one of those things I told Alan before he went on with you, where you would think that the Padres have been playing piss poor. Let's just say what it is, and the Brewers have been on fire to where you're just like, oh, the Brewers are going to come in here and just kick the Padres' butts. But it's just been the MO of the Padres. I told him, so naturally this means they're going to win all 4.
Yeah, it's like just when you kind of count them out,
then they'll do something to give you a little glimmer of hope and keep you from jumping off the ship.
How do you have 3 5-game losing streaks and no winning streak longer than 4 games and only be 2 games under 500? It doesn't make much sense. They've had 3 5-game losing streaks. It's a lot of games in your season. They haven't had a winning streak beyond 4 games, yet they've just kind of hung around.
They've had 2 5-game losing streaks. They've had 3 5-game losing streaks. They've been swept 3 different times
by some of the worst teams in baseball.
And if they don't make the postseason, I'm pretty confident in saying like this stretch, the first half where they've had those things happen to them, is going to be the reason why they don't make it.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And listen, I've said this a lot. If they're in the American League, I would feel completely differently. It doesn't make them a better team. They're not. But they're a product of their surroundings. Their surroundings are the National League. And in the National League, the 2 teams in wildcard position for the 2nd and 3rd spot are both under 500. Like Brent's saying, hey, someone's going to get hot. Here's the thing, though. You need 2 teams to get hot because spots 2 and 3 are teams that are under 500. It's not like spot 2, Jim, is 11 games over 500. Just run away with it. You're not going to track them down. It's spots 2 and 3 that aren't very good. So you still have wiggle room. That's what's so weird about this whole thing.
Who we're watching right now, St. Louis, right? Playing against the Giants.
But they're under 500,
They're
right?
36 and 37, and yet they hold the 6th wild card spot right now.
Right, so you're right, the last wild card
Arizona,
spot.
37 and 38. They're in the fifth spot.
Right.
I think that this year, the 5th and 6th seeds, there's potential there where they could both be under 500.
One of them, I'm with you on one.
One of them?
I'm with you. Either 500 or below, I would buy that. That it's distinctly possible.
I mean, it's like Arizona, St. Louis, Padres, Pittsburgh, Washington, Chicago, Giants,
It's
Mets,
crazy.
Seven
Cincinnati.
teams all within at least a game to a game and a half.
Game and a half.
Crazy.
Game and a half is the largest
Game and a half.
That's the Reds, 35 and 39.
We'll see tonight. Padres, Brewers kicking off a series at Petco. We have the very latest, by the way, on Joe Musgrove, Yu Darvish, and Xander Bogaerts at this hour. The very latest. We'll share it with you next on Jon and Jim. All right, the latest injury updates on Yu Darvish, Joe Musgrove, and Xander Bogaerts as well for you next.
All right, this update is brought to you by Taco Bell. Padres and Brewers start a 4-game series tonight at Petco Park. 6:40 first pitch. Adam Major on the mound for the Padres tonight. And the Lakers, they made their head coaching hire today. It's JJ Redick signing a 4-year deal. The Cravings Value Menu from Taco Bell. 10 items each for just $3 or less, including faves like the cheesy double beef burrito, loaded beef nachos, and the 3-cheese chicken flatbread melt at participating U.S. stores while supplies last. Prices do vary. Taxes extra. Double seasoned beef compared to the Burrito Supreme.
Festival Saturday, September 28th in New York Central Park. The iconic one-day music festival brings together global citizens, artists, world leaders, corporate leaders, and philanthropists. This year, featuring Post Malone, Doja Cat, and many more. Hosted by Hugh Jackman. Join the global movement ending extreme poverty. Earn your ticket by downloading the Global Citizen app or visit globalcitizenfestival.com to start taking action.
John, do you know who Hugh Jackman is?
Truthfully,
No lie.
I would say an actor.
Yes, you're not wrong.
Okay, so I'm right. Thank you. He's an actor.
He's an actor, John.
So I said.
I know. You got it right.
Here are the injury. He's been in some big movies, I can tell you that.
Oh, big movies.
Very big ones.
Yeah.
Very popular.
Coming up in a big one, coming up here in about a month.
With very high scores on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yes.
Like what movie is he going to be in?
He's Wolverine, John.
Oh, he's Wolverine.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's the Wolverine.
Great. All right. We have the following updates from Kevin AC. This article just published within the last 10 minutes. All right. Joe Musgrove, you want an update?
Sure.
He has thrown a weighted ball against a wall. He did it Monday 30 times. Joe Musgrove threw a weighted ball. Aren't all balls weighted? They're not gravity free, right? Like that. Anyway, he threw a weighted ball against the wall about 30 times.
Okay.
He said it went well.
Oh, great.
I'd be like, Jay, like if I throw something against a wall, it would go well too, probably.
Okay.
Given that he has to progress to playing catch, then throwing off a mound, and then has to make at least a few rehab starts, the earliest he could be back is late July. Okay? You have no faith in Musgrove doing that, nor do I necessarily.
No.
Okay. Yu Darvish, his next start after getting beat up in the minor leagues with Fort Wayne, was it last night? I think so.
Yeah.
Will be with the Padres. With Fort Wayne, 49 pitches, 3 1/3 innings. The line wasn't good. His next start will be in the major leagues with the Padres.
Did you see what he did last night for the
he bought the spread.
Yeah, bought this. That was awesome.
Very cool.
It looked like a very good spread too, by the way.
Very cool.
He's like, here's a spread for you, and then I'm gonna go out there and give up 7 runs.
Yeah, and I'm gonna go fly on out of here to San Diego.
Yeah,
you guys enjoy the steak.
Not coach either.
Exactly. And then second baseman Xander Bogaerts, you may recall he's been out with a left shoulder fracture. By the way, he hasn't played since May 20th.
It's been a month, John.
We haven't really noticed.
No.
He took grounders today for a second consecutive day, but here's the catch. No pun intended. He didn't throw. He has been taking BP in the cage, mostly swinging one-handed.
Oh.
Though he said he plans to be using both hands soon.
Oh, wow.
Listen to this. This is a direct quote from Xander. He could return, this is Xander's words, in early July.
I just have this image in my head of him swinging one-handed. I remember that part in Bull Durham when Kevin Costner's in the batting cage and he's just like nonchalantly just hitting the balls.
That's going to be Xander in early July.
Right.
You're going to have Joe out there with a weighted ball. No one's going to be hitting homers when he's throwing a 10-pound ball off him. So you got Xander could be back in early July. Do you buy that? Do you think Xander Bogaerts plays for this team before the All-Star game?
No.
Do you think Joe Musgrove pitches for this team before the end of July?
No.
You think Yu Darvish makes his next start with the Padres?
Yes.
Me too. Okay.
Again, I would love to be wrong on all of those, except for the Yu Darvish one.
Yeah. No, Darvish is starting here.
I mean, you're not really I don't know what you get out of Darvish or get out of Musgrove and get out of Bogaerts, but if they're back, I mean, that you're not going to sit there and be like, oh, these guys should just go on the IL again. Same thing with Manny. Like, oh, you should just go on the IL. Well, if you go on the IL, who's Tyler Wadey?
Right.
You bring up Eggy?
Yeah, no, it's valid. Your point's valid.
Solely?
Yeah. You're saying they're thin.
Very thin.
Mm-hmm.
It's the question that we talked a lot about and had during spring training and before the year. The depth of this team is not good. And it hasn't been good. Now they've gotten some contributions from pieces that, like I think Tyler Wade has been, he's a ball player. John, I don't know if you knew that.
Yeah, he is.
He's a baseball player. I think he's done well in the spots that he's been asked to go out there. I think Donovan Solano, even though he's struggling right now, I think he's, proven to be decent for them. And the Luis Ariz trade was just massive because without him, I don't know where this team would be, honestly. But they are still dealing with constant depth issues everywhere.
Yep. And injuries everywhere.
So getting those guys back is important. I just don't want them to get back too soon before they potentially fully heal up. And they won't be fully healed, by the way. Like both of those guys, whenever they come back, if they come back,
right,
won't be like, I'm 100%.
No doubt.
They will not be 100%.
But by the way, yesterday in the win, Ariz had a big hit. It was 1-1. I think it was maybe with 2 outs. And he made it 2-1. They never looked back. But I do, and I've said this so much. I'm like, I just can tell he's not fully healthy. And maybe he's getting healthier, which is very encouraging. In his last 10 games, Jim, he's hit 209.
Ugh.
So that's very un-Luis Ariz, like specifically in a Padres uniform, where his first whatever number of games,
like
20, 30 games, he was just terrific. So that's the thing. We're talking about guys in the IL, but you mentioned earlier, Toddy has this quad situation. Ariz has a shoulder. Manny has a lot of stuff. But these are guys that are playing that aren't 100%. So, it's something to consider.
Is it crazy that he's still hitting 335 with the Padres this year?
That's amazing. That's amazing. That's incredible.
In 41 games, 335.
No, like you said, he's been great. And he will get, I'm assuming the shoulder is going to get healthier. There's no fracture. No. So hopefully he's getting healthier, but that's amazing. He's the
first player in the league to have 100 hits.
What's interesting about Arise, what's his career hit total, Jim? Is it over 700 or 800?
747.
I would think it would be a little higher than that. He's at age 27. I like in my head, I would be like, oh, he's got 1,000 hits, right? Because this guy's a hit machine. I figured he might have 1,000 hits. I don't like. I wonder what his max hit total could be in his career. 27-year-old, 750 hit,
203.
203 for his career in a single season.
No,
I'm saying, what do you think he could get to? Just like throw it out, 10-year career, another 10 years.
27 right now.
Yeah.
I mean, if you got to have a bunch of 200 hit seasons in there,
could you get to 2,500 hits?
I think
2,000, 2,500.
Yeah, I think by the age 34, you could see around 2,000, over 2,000.
The reason I asked, you saw people, I think maybe MLB put out a graphic a couple weeks ago. If he's a 3-time hit king, is he a Hall of Fame candidate based on that? Would a 3-time hit king be a Hall of Fame candidate? And the answer is no. Like, not automatically. Like, he would be a 3-time hit king with fewer than 1,000 hits. You're not a Hall of Famer as a 3-time hit king if that's the end of your career. You have to have 2,500. I mean, he's nowhere near it, is my point.
No. Well, his first 3 years, 22, 23, and 24, the most hits he had in a season was 126. Now, from his age 25 to this season, last 3 seasons or 2.5 seasons here, that's when you're starting to see the big hit totals. Like, he could end up around 200 hits this year.
Right.
And the last 3 seasons, you could have back-to-back 200 hit seasons and 173 hits in 2022.
Luis Ariz back in the lineup. He's been in the lineup. He will be tonight for the Padres against the Brewers. All right, I have good news for Aztec fans. I have found a mock draft that includes Jaden Ledee. You may know.
He found the one.
I found it. Urson Demir, mock drafting Urson Demir.
Yeah.
So Urson Demir, and he's legitimate.
Yeah.
And the reason I say that is he has followers on social media, but then again, so do you. Are you legitimate?
Some would say no.
Exactly.
Someone called me the Skip Bayless of San Diego media.
Where was that?
I don't know.
On Twitter?
Oh, yeah. It was on X.
I remember that. You were getting ripped yesterday on social media for some reason.
Well, some guy, he's like, Manny had 2 hits today. I can't wait to hear you talk about his 2 hits. And I'm like, okay.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And then,
we're like, we don't have a show.
And then you chimed in.
Oh, yeah. Like, what happened until he hits in 57 consecutive games? That's the next time Jim will compliment me.
Yeah. And I'm like, you idiot. Because people on social media.
Moron.
Well, that too. You're both.
Yeah. But people on social media, what?
Here's the thing. Some people don't understand that you're joking.
Kidding.
And they don't understand sometimes that I'm joking.
Right. So I'm like,
they take everything seriously. And then he called me like the Skip Bayless of I'm like, okay,
here's
keep
the
trolling
thing.
me.
I truthfully don't care about the little like back and forth conversations we always have on social media.
I don't care either.
That's the thing. So I just do whatever. Anyway, Urson Demir has Jaden Ledee going 43rd overall to the Miami Heat. How's the fit, Jim? 43rd overall to Miami. You'd sign up for that though, right? Yeah.
That'd be cool.
It'd be awesome.
And if you're him, you go to an organization with one of the best coaches in the league, and Eric Spoelstra. You have Pat Riley in the organization.
Riles.
You have,
that's true. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if they're going to do. I don't know if Jimmy Butler's going to stay there, but
usually,
it's a great organization. More often than not,
I
mean, you're going to be in a winning situation. And oh, by the way, it's not a bad lifestyle to be living in Miami.
That'll be a good spot.
Tax-free.
By the way, though, Urson Demir, who's got Jaden in his mock draft, does not have Keyshawn Johnson, who is in a number of mock drafts. The NBA draft is a week from yesterday, I think. I think it starts Wednesday, ends Thursday. 2-day draft this year here in 2024. All right, on the other side, are you ready, Jim, for the return of your back page? It's been a day.
Oh, I'm ready. Are you ready?
Nah, I'm pretty ready. Is it, Brent? You have
it? 26.
26. Next Wednesday is the NBA draft. Jim's back page next. All right, Jim's back page will come your way next. You know, Mr. Movie Men over here, right? All these obscure actors like Hugh Jackman.
Obscure
I'm
actors.
kidding. Do you know
What?
Lee Byung-hun or Byung-hun Lee?
Okay. What about
He was, well, you guys don't know him. He's a South Korean actor.
I'd have to see his
He's
face.
received acclaim for his work in a wide range of genres, most notably Joint Security Area, A Bittersweet Life, The Good, the Bad, the Weird, I Saw the Devil, Mr. Sunshine.
where are you going with this?
He's at Petco Park. Padres tweeted about him.
Okay.
Welcome to Petco Park, Young Hun Lee. I thought you guys would know. Like, if they're tweeting about it, I figured he's some huge actor.
Is he like a Korean actor?
I think he is, but there's a lot of Korean
Because
shows.
there's pictures with him and
television.
Hassan Kim. So
Yeah.
I'm assuming like
But he could still be, big in the U.S., right?
What was his name?
Well, here it's Lee Byung-hun, but I think it might be
He looks
Byung-hun Lee.
Oh, I know that guy.
he looks
Okay,
familiar.
yeah, that's
Yeah,
why
I
I
know
asked.
that guy.
I don't know. Okay. Oh, you know what he was in? He appeared in a recurring role as the front man in the Netflix hit series Squid Game.
Yeah, that's
Yes.
where you-
Okay, okay. So
that's
so I stumped you guys.
not really.
Not
Because
necessarily.
I mean, he
You
looks.
didn't know the name, but you knew. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. You guys supposed to know.
Too. So the star in
A different star.
different.
I did. I think I got. I'll be honest with you. I kind of got lost by the. I got lost by the end.
Like the ending lost you?
Yeah. But
Okay.
you'll have to tell me off the air.
Probably.
Oh, that dude was
What-
in the
Magnificent.
7
But-
remake.
or
too.
you could tell me on air. What happened?
At the end,
Yeah.
he got a call back from like the Squid Game people, and his like journey is to like find them and like take them out because of
he's
what they
gonna
did.
go hunt him down now
Yeah.
instead of taking the money and shutting up.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm confused. Let's get to it.
Oh, fun fact too about that guy from Squid Game that's on Acolyte. He learned English just for the Acolyte.
I know, and he's great at it too. Like say what you want about the Acolyte. I think he's one of the best parts of it. And to learn English just to play that role, he's doing a fantastic job. His character's name is Soul, John, Master Soul.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah. McDonald's Canada, John, has released a new flavored French fry. The ramen flavor French fry.
Sounds good.
Yeah, they give you French fries with ramen seasoning to pour over your French fries. And if you want to go to a McDonald's in Canada, you can get ramen seasoned flavored French fries.
Kind of like Old Bay seasoning.
A little bit.
You know what I mean? I'm sensing that with
yeah.
ramen seasoning. Reminds me a little bit of Old
You
Bay.
think since it's Canada, it'd just be like poutine type?
Yeah, I don't know a
fries,
lot
you know,
about that either, but yeah.
It's just when they put gravy on French fries.
Gotcha.
And stuff over
Got
there.
you.
It's like big in Canada.
Okay.
You know what me and Aaron use all the time over like all of our food is everything but the bagel seasoning.
We have that in our place too. Yeah, it's very good.
From Trader Joe's.
Yeah, I have that. We use that.
By the way, if you go to Trader Joe's,
Mm-hmm.
go to the like salsa section.
Mm-hmm.
You need to get everything but the bagel, like cream cheese yogurt dip. It is
Cream cheese yogurt dip.
It is so good.
Really?
But it's not cream cheese. It's
I got you.
It's yogurt.
It's a yogurt dip, but it's cream cheese flavored.
It tastes like cream cheese, but it's not cream cheese.
Weird.
It's supposedly like, quote, healthier for you.
Right.
But it has everything but the bagel seasoning in it.
I do like that seasoning.
And then it's yogurt. And so
I'll try that.
Dude, with like some crackers.
Ooh.
Oh my
Let's
God.
Go. Let's go.
So good. Speaking of McDonald's, John, their $5 meal deal is upon us. McDonald's reveals items in the $5 meal deal. Here is what some customers can expect. The meal, available as of June 25th, will include 4 components: a choice of a McDouble or McChicken, a small order of fries, a 4-piece order of chicken nuggets, and a small drink. The value meal is only available for a limited time at participating McDonald's. And what do you think of that?
I think it sounds like a good deal. That's what it sounds like to me. Because you guys are telling me about pricing with fast food as being like over the top.
Yeah.
So I think it sounds like a great deal.
It's too bad it's only for like a month.
I gotcha. Yep. Not forever.
Along with news of the McDonald's $5 meal deal, McDonald's also is touting its Free Fries Friday promotion, which offers a free medium order of French fries for customers who spend at least $1 on any other item in the McDonald's app.
Okay, so I buy something, I get free medium fries.
Yeah,
basically.
They're baiting you to buy.
Yeah,
stuff.
I got
Yeah,
you.
but see, here's the thing, because I don't buy anything that's not on the app anymore. I rarely just go through the drive-thru.
Yeah.
They have like a thing they've been doing for like months where you can get like any size fry for like $1.29.
Gotcha. So it's a savings of $1.
Yeah, and
basically.
Normally, and like a large fry these days is like $5.50.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. But that offer's good, $1.29.
Well, and they'll do like you can get a 20-piece and then 2 orders of fries, any size, are free.
Gotcha.
So you can essentially buy a 20-piece nugget and get 2 large fries for free.
Gotcha. Okay.
And the biggest news of the day here in San Diego, John.
Yeah. What is it?
The #1 ice cream shop
I saw that
in America is here in San Diego. Now, I don't know if it's pronounced Ann's Gelato or if it's
I think it's Ann's
Gelato.
I'm not sure.
Because it's spelled AN''S.
What? It's not beef and bun?
It's called Ann's Dry Cleaning. Was named the #1 ice cream shop in America according to USA Today.
That is amazing.
Last night or yesterday. It's like a gelato. You open up the park in 2018. And it's the only restaurant shop to make the top 10 list. So that's kind of crazy. I'm sure their lines are out throughout the door. Absolutely around the corner today. After being named the #1 ice cream shop in America.
By the way, they have another. You said Ann's Dry Cleaning. There's Ann's Hat Makers Gelato in Del Mar. They're sister properties. They're really unique stores.
It's a gourmet quote gelato shop.
Yeah, they also have they're really. I've never been to Ann's, but I've been to the other one. They're really unique. So, all right, we're back tomorrow from downtown at 3. The Naughty Bear, 4 friend, and Jim. I'm John. Keep it here. It's San Diego Sports 760.